Just setting it up live now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's live.
Okay, great. So, good morning, good evening, all of you. On behalf of DYRT, I would like to welcome author Deepak Chawla.
Thank you. Thank you, Sweta.
Let me introduce who Deepak Chawla is. He describes himself as an educationist, management professional, trainer, author, poet, motivational speaker, and a mentor. Deepak hails from Mumbai and is an engineer by qualification, has diplomas in marketing, finance, and journalism. Deepak was Chief Human Resource Officer with Reliance Infrastructure, where he worked for 32 years. Thereafter, he moved into academics and was a director of executive education at Universal Business School. Currently, Deepak is a director of training NMIMS University and SUKM Group of Educational Institutes, one of India's leading educational groups. During his 32 years of corporate experience, Deepak worked in different functions as human resources, EPC, engineering, procurement and construction, operational, business development, sales and marketing strategy. So everyone, Deepak has been writing since childhood and continued writing despite his busy, hectic schedules. And he's both proficient in Hindi and English. He has been writing poetry, plays, stories, various articles. He's always happy to write any kind of content. His formal publications include three compilations of Hindi poetry, Rubaru, Sajda, Azmaish. His two books are Business as Usual, which is a collection of 5 long short stories, which has been a bestseller on crosswords and was amongst the top 10 for several weeks. Between You and Me is his latest book, which is a heart-wrenching and intense novel. As a member of Rotary Club, Deepak was editor of his monthly club bulletin for 10 years. Deepak's writings are extremely sensitive, compassionate, prolific, very relatable. They exude a lot of complexity of human relationships, the dilemma that people face in crosswords of life, and also the manner in which they deal with life. So welcome, Deepak. It's really good to have you on our platform.
Thank you, Shweta. Thank you so much. And thank you to your platform for having me over.
Wonderful. So Deepak, I know you have a very impressive profile. Let me start off by asking you, I know you've been writing since childhood. When and how did the idea to pen a book down come about initially?
Well, I never really intended to come out with the publication of a book as such. So if you're referring to the book, so my poetry collection, when it reached a sizable number, that was a time when I first thought, why shouldn't we put it together into a compilation? Because friends and so I used to have those poems written in bits and pieces of paper lying here and there. And even I used to find it difficult to access some of my poems sometimes. I remember that since I'd been writing for years, and it was about 15, 16 years of paperwork with me, with small diaries and notepads and stuff like that. And I also remember that, some of these poems were very well liked, and it was published in 1 or 2 Hindi, Sunday editions of newspapers like Navbharat and all, when I was wanting people to know about it. So in that sense, the first idea of putting a book together came when I overshot the number of poems I had, and I wanted them to be together at one place. So that was the idea. But as far as my English writing and my fiction book, and which happened to be at Crossword, came up, it was a very different method or the way and the manner in which it came up. So during my college times, I used to write a lot of articles, short stories in Hindi and English, all of them. So there were certain things which were happening around me in life, and I realized that, I hadn't written fiction for a long time. So I thought of writing something just as a form of a short story, which I believe would go into 6, 7 pages or something. But when I actually started writing, more and more thoughts started coming in, and more and more context for the story started coming in, and it went into becoming on a track of what I'm calling as a long short story. So while I was writing that story, I had some more thoughts, more ideas coming in, which I realized that they're not fitting in this story, but they're good. They are worthy of writing. So I parked them aside and I said, okay, as and when I get time to write something else, I'll use them. So one story led to the second and second to the third. And then I said, hey, look, I have something which can be published together as a book. So when I started my fourth story, and this is very interesting, I was that whether should I write a collection of short stories, or now that I have content enough and I have written them, or blow them into a trilogy kind of a thing and have three books. So, but then it had taken very long for me to write even those 3-4 short stories. I said now to restart writing all over again. It's a long journey again. So I said, okay, let's go with this fourth one. And then I had more thoughts coming in. So it took me, you'll be surprised, about 4 years to write that first compilation. And then I was ready with something which I said, now I want to publish a book. That's how it was.
Wonderful. That's great to hear, Deepak. So you said business as usual is a collection of 5 long short stories. And why was
Yes.
5 stories? And I think you set your book in the setting of a corporate world. And what made you choose that
Yes.
setting? And tell us more about where were your characters inspired from?
Well, stories needed a setting. It could have been any setting. But since I worked in the corporate setup, so it was easier for me to have that setting because that is something I could have written with much more conviction. That was one. And the second was my audience was of that kind, which largely belonged to the corporate world. So, I mean, that strata or that. So I said that it will be more relatable if I write in a corporate setup background. So that's how I chose that. As I told you, the first story was simply a story. Then there was a pattern to it. As far as the characters are concerned, there is not one single character who's in a wholesome being there in the book. So there are shades of characters from different people I have known, including myself. So there is some element of me also. There is some element of people whom I have been very close to. There are some people who are, just in the periphery of my life. They happen to be there and then they moved on. Certain characters have just evolved because they were required to take the narrative forward. So they came as a support actor, a support character, and they evolved into characters because the narrative had to be taken forward. So that's the way the characters evolved.
Interesting. And your new book, Between You and Me, now is a full-fledged novel of 300 pages. And what
Yeah.
was the transition of writing a short story collection to a full-fledged novel like?
So, well, as I said, by the time I had completed my third story, Business as Usual, I was already itching to make it a full-fledged kind of a thing. But I said that let me finish this stuff and then I'll go for the full-fledged novel. So I had a lot of, material in my head, which certain things I had jotted down. So I was in fact ready to write a full-fledged novel by the time Business as Usual got complete.
Yeah. How long did Between You and Me take you?
As I said, 4 years,
Really?
about four
But
years.
what about business as usual? Leave it the same?
Business as Usual, and again another 3 years.
3 years. Okay,
It took me
wonderful.
2 years.
Great.
Yeah.
And yeah, so tell me, we have a lot of people in this group who are corporate
Sure.
professionals and who aspire to be authors some point in time. You
Mhm.
manage your writing and your corporate life beautifully. I mean, you strike a delicate balance. How do you manage your time? I mean, we'd love to hear more of that.
It's tough. It's tough, and there is no set pattern or a certain discipline about these many number of hours or these many days I want to write about, because that's not the way life happens. Because things keep on happening and you can't really. But the only discipline that I had was the passion within me, and which I said that whatever be the situation, I want to continue writing. I want to keep writing. There may be lulls. There may be times where I have not have written for a month together, but I want to come back and write. So that drive that I want to write was always there, but there was no set number of hours or certain discipline that I said. It was just that inner calling. I want to keep writing. That's it.
Okay. And how do you ever encounter the famous writer's block that many authors say that suddenly they feel they cannot write beyond a point? How do you overcome that?
Yes, very much, very much. So, when I first book, there was no method in it. It just happened as a free flow because there was no purpose of writing a book, no objective of writing a book. It was just for the sake of fulfillment. But when I came to my second book, I knew I'm writing a book, right? So I had kind of outlined certain storylines. So I'd written down that in chapter 1, this is what would happen. In chapter 2, this is what would happen. Bullet points, some 5-6 bullet points. So there were many such times when I was dealing with one chapter, and I realized that what I have written, I know that this is what has to go into the book. I know how this chapter will end. But here I am on paragraph 2. What do I do? What happens next? What happens in the next line or paragraph is where I used to get stuck. And when I have gotten stuck, it's been, weeks together sometimes. And then at that point of time, when I resumed writing, there is a whole new dimension which has come up. And when I resumed writing, I realized that something in the previous pages that I have written is not connecting with it, or is not relevant with it, or there is something new which I realize has to come in the past to make the current being more relevant. So it's an exploratory process which keeps on happening.
I had an interesting question, Deepak, for you. I mean, since between you and me, set in Mumbai and in River Thames in London.
Yes.
Yeah. So, how did you? I mean, of course, you're from Mumbai. I mean, you have a good topography about the place. But when you write about a place like London, how do you bring in that authenticity with regards to the setting?
Yeah. So, if you read all my stories, whether in business as usual or this, so 5 in business as usual and this 6, even in this, whichever locations that have been mentioned are the ones which I have personally traveled, seen, visited. I have traveled those roads. I have been to those places around there. So if I don't, if I have not been there, I will not be able to write with conviction. So for example, in one of my stories in business as usual, the whole setting is in Pittsburgh, if you remember, in Pennsylvania. So I had been in Pittsburgh and I stayed there for about a month. So I have written extensively about Pittsburgh. So whatever locations, whatever places that have been described here or in business as usual are the places that I've seen with my own eyes. I've been there.
Yeah. Coming to the characters, when you write short stories, your characters are only there for a short duration, whereas with a full-fledged novel, I've heard that you live with the characters. What was the experience for you while talking about the characters in your short stories and as well as between you and me? What was the difference?
Well, so as I told you in my earlier part of business, it was relatively raw writing, if I might say so, compared to between you and me, because I was relatively new to writing this kind of genre. So the characters there, while they were there for a little while, it might sound in terms of reading, but as far as that story is concerned, they have lived the life of the story. They have been there throughout the story. So it is about the duration of the story or the writing, but otherwise they are giving the full life to that particular story. So whether it is a short story of 60 pages or this long novel of 300 pages, the characters live throughout. And you will not believe that, some of these characters like in Between You and Me or something. So these characters like Kajal, Jaydev, these characters, I had started talking sometimes to my friends and I used to refer to them, Kajal. So they became so much a part of me that I started believing that they actually live around me. So that was the kind of internalization which happened with the characters.
That's very interesting, Deepak. I mean, that you actually start feeling the characters around you. And I think
Yes.
Yeah, great.
And sometimes, this is very interesting and funny, that within me, there is a conflict of characters. On one side, there is character A, and one side, there is character B. And both are strong characters. And of course, when I'm writing them, they have to be strong characters, otherwise, they wouldn't exist. But doing justice to their character while I'm writing as a writer, I don't know whether you'll be able to relate to that part of it. But I suddenly find that character A telling me, hey, why are you neglecting me? So yeah, that's more of a creative process.
It's like all of them demanding for your attention.
Yeah, sometimes I do feel that. Sometimes I do feel, yes.
Very
Or not just attention, or sometimes a certain character being dominating over the other character, or certain character being submissive to another character, as a part of the story narrative.
It's like almost dealing with a family member or family members. That's how it sounds.
Let me tell you, I used to write plays, as you mentioned. I used to write plays when I was college. It's a very, those who write fiction would know it. It's like almost like a feeling of God. It's your universe, your characters, your people you have created, and they should do what you have destined for them. Yeah.
Deepak, we have a lot of poetry writers in our group, and in fact, Prabha writes great poetry. A lot of Nilay Saman writes great
Wow.
poetry. So you've been into
Sure.
poetry I think, for some time. Tell us more about the process. I mean, where do you get your inspiration from, and what's the difference between writing poetry and fiction? What, as a writer, what do you find the difference? How do you find it?
Well, there are differences and there are similarities both. So, in terms of differences, let me tell you, there will be a dry season in both, that for weeks together you might not write anything. Poetry to me is more spontaneous. It can happen anytime, at any spur of moment. And these days in Mumbai, I don't know, even after the lockdown, it is so bad in traffic. I have been writing a lot, those thoughts keep on coming in and I just type it on my mobile. So I write poetry when I'm in traffic or something, So poetry is more spontaneous, more specific, that event oriented. And if you miss that moment, you've lost that poetry also. You've lost that verses also. Whereas when you're writing proper fiction, that stays with you, that kicks with you. So it's a long process. Poetry is very, very spontaneous. If you write it at that time, it's there. Otherwise, and I have many incomplete poems also, incomplete verses also. So some of them never get completed at all.
Interesting. Deepak, so you write both in Hindi and in English, and I see a lot of regional writers wanting to translate their works in English. I mean, as somebody who's proficient in both languages, how much do you think translation just justice to the original language?
I, as long as it is able to touch your heart, you're able to relate to it, language doesn't matter. And one of my greatest, the one whom I admire the most, Paulo Coelho, I have written his books in English. I've read his books in English, but I believe he writes in Portuguese, in Spanish. He writes in Spanish. So I shudder to think that is Paulo really as good as he writes, or is it the translator who's written it in English whom I'm relating it to? So for me, it is Paulo Coelho, but in between there is somebody who's translated from Spanish to English.
Yeah.
So as long as you're able to relate to the reader, I don't think the language matters.
Yeah. Wait, and you mentioned Paulo Coelho. I mean, every author has their own, certain authors' work, authors' works whom they admire. Any writers or works or books that have influenced you?
Well, obviously, so when I mentioned Paulo, he's my all-time favorite, but I don't write like him. I really love his writing. I completely get mesmerized and completely absorbed into it. In fact, one of my characters in Business as Usual, the name I have picked from one of his books, and I have also mentioned that why is the character named. So this character is named Athena, and the book is The Witch of Portobello. So the Witch of Portobello has a character called Athena. And I was so mesmerized by that character that I have taken that name in one of my books, the name of one of the character in one of my stories. And the reason why she's called Athena is because Paulo is this thing. So yes, Paulo Coelho is my all-time favorite, but he's recent years. So when I started reading books at different times in life, they were so. When I was growing up as a child, I actually loved and freaked on Annette. So that's where you actually grew up and you realize that, oh wow, what wonderful writing. Then as I grew up a little bit, so I read James Hadley Chase, I read Perry Mason. Then in the 80s and the 90s, I used to read Robert Louis, Jeffrey Archer. So all of but the one thing, something which I want to tell you, I have never been a fan of real literary kind of work. It's more of contemporary work that I have been able to relate more and read more. In the classics, I do feel that I love P.G. Woodhouse. and I love Somerset Maugham. I have read them and I really like them. Though I have never written something like them, but I do like them. Yeah.
Great. Wonderful.
And in terms of poetry, well, it is Gulzar for me, all-time favorite. Yeah.
Sure. So, Deepak, I'll throw open the questions to the audience. I mean, and
Sure.
here you have Natarajan, you have Prabha, Sachin, and Kishore. Maybe they like to. I'll hand it
Sure.
over to them.
Look forward. Look forward.
I think Sachin, you can just mention your question. I think you've already typed it out, but you can just pick it up. Sachin?
Yes,
Hi,
sorry. Hi, Deepak. Good
Hi.
evening.
Good
So it
evening.
has been an interesting discussion till now. Thank you for all the valuable inputs because, as Shweta was mentioning, many of us are aspiring or published authors, but most of us will either be first timers or newbies. So I
Yeah.
take all of whatever you have said as inputs. So my question, which I already actually typed out in the chat box, is you have come out with these two books, one a book of short stories and one a full-fledged novels, which together took you about 7 years,
Yes.
here and there to come out with,
Yeah.
right? So 4 and 3. So what, in your opinion, is a good time for the next book to come out for you to remain connected to your readers? Because I'm sure both of these books of yours will be out there in the market and people will be reading them.
Sure.
And those of us who do like reading both of them will obviously wonder when the next is going to come out. So, what, in your opinion, is the ideal time for the next one to come out so that you're basically connected or hooked with the readers?
I guess 2 years max is a good time. 2.5 years is a luxury for you to come out with if you're really a serious writer. 2 years is good enough for you to come up with another book. In my kind of genre, but if there are books like which are non-fiction and require a lot of research and stuff like that, it could be whatever. But the kind of writing that I do, I think 2 years is good enough.
The next obvious question to ask would be, what is next in the offing? I'm sure Shweta would have asked it later on, anyways.
Well,
What's next in the offing?
I would like to confess that while I said it has taken 4 years, 3 years, and I'm bragging about it, I must say that a part of it should be attributed to be my being a bit lazy. I could really be better. I could certainly devote more time. So while I have said this publicly 2 years, so I've already lost 1 year after my first book in this Between You and Me came. It's nearly a year now. So I have barely written one chapter, not even one chapter. The storyline, the plot, everything is there. And that's the dangerous part, since I'm in the early stages, there are so many other thoughts which keep on coming, which are giving me dimensions and perspectives that why like this, why can't it be this way? So while there is a central plot, while there is a central character about it, but there are several dimensions coming. I don't want to reveal what it is about. It doesn't make sense. But I think even if I take it now, it should be 2 years from now at least. So I have actually wasted 1 year. So I'll commit myself to the readers 2 years from now. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Deepak. Thanks for answering that.
Thank you, Sachin.
Hi, Deepak. Am I audible?
Yeah, very much.
Yeah. So I just wanted to check, like your three books are totally different in connection with each other. So out of these three, what was your favorite, and and the upcoming books, whatever you plan? So what would you choose as? I understand poetry. You said it's continuous way of thoughts,
Yeah.
but still, I think these three are way different from each other.
How can you ask a parent who's your favorite child?
That's true. I mean the genre. But
no,
still,
what I would say is that as you keep on writing, you evolve as a writer. So I believe, if I would go back and rewrite some things of the previous writings that I've written, I believe I would be able to make it slightly better than what it is today. So in terms of writing, as I go along, my writing evolves. So whatever is latest is more favorite. And I would say that if I were to go back in time and write those things again, maybe I would write it better and differently.
Okay.
Yeah. All these characters, if you take, all these characters are very touchy to me. they are very personal to me. So if you happen to read any of
So,
those
I
books
mean,
and
what would be out of these three different, what would, obviously it's all your child, obviously
yeah, yeah.
it's all your babies basically.
Hmm.
But I know there is a certain learning from whenever you write it as a
Right.
process, when you go through
Yes.
that entire book as a process. So I just
Yes.
wanted to know which of these three books changed yourself or which imbibed into you as a person out of these three books.
Well, as a person, I don't think these books are, going to make any material difference, because all these reflect, as I told you, my personality, my character. But again, to repeat that, I would say that my latest book, I would say, is something that has taught me to be more as a writer, that
Okay.
has given me more insights into being a better writer. And from the previous books, I learned something which I said that, okay, I must do this correction, I must do these amends in my next book. Now, having written this, I have learned now that what is it that I need to make better when I'm writing my next book.
That's
Including, to be very frank, the earlier book, Business as Usual. Now we are talking and we know what it is about. Uh, a lot many people looking at the title and relating it to me that I am from the corporate side, they believe that it is something to do with management. So I realized that my title, though it befits the story very well, the storyline very well, it went misleading that it is a management book, whereas it is pure fiction. So I realized that maybe I should have been very sensible about what title I'm writing, what it will mean to the readers. And from that perspective, I actually missed out a certain set of audience, that people who read fiction didn't buy my book thinking it's management.
Oh, okay.
So there's small learnings. Yeah.
So, would you like to read some expert? I think I can see the books behind you. So,
Yeah, that
any excerpt from, yeah.
my daughter set that up for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, would you like to read something for us from one of your books?
Well, I have the books with me here. So this is Between You and Me. This is
Okay.
As Usual. Uh, this is Sajda, Azma, Rubru, Azma. So Rubru is the first one in chronological order. Rubru,
Okay.
Sajda, then Azmaish as far as poetry is concerned. And this. So if you want me to read, I'd go back to my first book, that is Business as Usual. And so the names, another very interesting thing is about the touchiness about the names of the characters. I have dabbled a lot before arriving at the name of the character. On the face of it, it may appear to be a very simple name, very common name, but a lot has gone into my mind before freezing this name. Yeah, this is going to be the name. Just one sec. Let me just. I was not ready for it, but maybe just since I don't want to be spending time people looking at me that what am I trying to read. So just one paragraph I'll read if you feel.
True.
So if there's one thing that one doesn't, it is the control over oneself. Losing control over oneself is perhaps the reality. And one really doesn't like confronting or confessing to vulnerability without really acknowledging or recognizing. Shamma realized that she seemed to have become vulnerable to Gautam. She realized that she had become too dependent on him. He had become too important for her
Voice
in
is
life.
breaking. Voice is
Almost
breaking.
indispensable, more weak internally. Maybe Shama was unable to accept that she was too dependent on someone, not realizing that she had actually become dependent. Maybe Shama was unable to accept that someone had become too important to her in life, not realizing that Gautam had actually become too important to her. Maybe Shama was unable to accept that someone had become almost indispensable, realizing that Gautam had not realizing that Gautam had actually become indispensable. So if there's one thing that one doesn't really want to lose in life is the control over oneself. And that's where she felt she was losing control over herself. So this is just a paragraph. So this is
That's
the first
nice.
story, Shama and Gautam. So all my characters, like Shweta said, so if somebody asks me what is the story about, my stories are all about human relationships, are all about the convictions which make people to take up choices in life, and where these choices land them up in life, and how do they deal with where they have landed up in life. So essentially it is that dilemma, and everybody is facing the situation because of the choices they've made in life. And they make such choices because they believe in that this is what they need to do. And as a reader, and this is one of the hallmark of my stories, that as a reader, when you finish reading a story or this novel, you will always have questions, why did he do like this? Or why didn't she do like this? He could have done like this also, but why like this? So there's nothing right or wrong about it, but it, stirs up questions in your mind. And that's what is one of my objectives of writing, that I want people to think about the characters or the situation, that why did they do like this? They could have done this way also. So that's what I want readers to go back with once they complete the stories.
Nice.
Deepak, we have a question from Anamika Kundu. She
Okay.
asks, how do you decide on your theme or your plot?
So I have no fixed method of, so as I said, in my particular case, when I first started the first story of Business as Usual, there were more thoughts which kept on coming in, and it was already giving rise to the next story, and the second was giving rise to the third. So it's a spontaneous, it's exuberating, it's overflowing. The thoughts start overflowing when you start writing, and you write continuously. So this work which I'm currently working on had already started germinating into my mind when I was finishing my earlier book. But as far as the theme is concerned, my central theme will always be human relations and the complexities of human relations. The settings could be different, the setup could be different, the situations which have led to those, crossroads in life would be different. And I would create them. So I would problems for people. So that is my way of writing. So I don't go into mythology. I don't go into, any kind of very detailed, very ancient history. And somehow or the other, because I am born and brought up in an urban area, my stories are more urban. They could have been rural. They could have been in different, set up in a different milieu, but they're not. So it's all individualistic, I guess. As a writer, it reflects your personality, your setup.
Deepak, Natarajan here has mentioned some nice comments about poetry on the chat. So I'd like him to ask you something.
Sure, Natarajan.
Hi, Deepak. For quite a while, I was thinking whether to ask this question or not. When you spoke about the human relationship, you want to write about human relationship. How do you differentiate between whether it is a fiction or non-fiction? Because according to me, when we are going to write about a human relationship, it is about our past experiences, what we have experienced ourselves, and we might have asked questions that those various relationships should have behaved like this according to us, and that is how we try to construct the story, that this should have been better or this should have been better. So how do you call your story as fiction story or non-fiction story?
So they are fiction to a certain extent. What you're saying is absolutely right. They are reality to a certain extent, that you pick up those situations, those people, the choices they have made. But then beyond that, there is a certain extrapolation as a writer, that what you have experienced or seen would be to a certain point, and then I extrapolate as a writer and make it more complex. So that is the kind of thing I do. So it begins with nonfiction and then transcends into fiction.
Having worked for 30 years into Reliance, have I heard you correctly?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you write a book like this, how the Reliance people view it?
Well, they have.
Is there any connection between your Reliance life and the story what you have written, or no?
No, there will be certain characters, certain situations which would have been picked up from my Reliance experience, but only a part of it. It's not the whole of it. So if there is a certain person, or there has been a certain situation or a certain relationship amongst, whether it is a professional relationship or personal relationship, I have picked up certain parts from it. Yes, there is, because that is where I've given my whole life to. So I have picked up from there. But as I said, that's only the starting point. Then I extrapolate it and translate it into fiction. And as far as people in Reliance are concerned, how they have taken to my writing, it's like, there is neither a discouragement or an encouragement. My limited, for quite some time, people didn't even know I write, because I never let people know that I write. Only when it became published outside and people saw there, and some of them were on social media, and they said, "Oh, you have written something. We never knew that we have somebody like this in our company." So that was my way of putting it. So
Thanks so much.
From my side, I tried to segregate the two lives. So while I was working, I was completely working. There was not a single talk of my writing or anything. It was absolutely professional. So I really very strongly distinguished and kept the two separate.
And also you mentioned about that you don't have any fixed timing, and sometimes you write for an hour or so. After that, you may even skip for writing 20 days and then take a break.
Yeah.
And again, when you come back and then write. What time you write? You write in the midnights, you write in the days. Is there any specific slots you allocate for yourself, or?
I have not allocated specific slots, but if you look at the pattern, more of the writing has happened during the night time. And when I say night, it's not too late night, say 10 p.m. onwards, that kind of thing. So I have written all times of the day, but majority of my writing has happened at night for obvious reasons.
Thank you.
And just to add here, Natarajan, that sometimes I sit for weeks together, I don't write. There are also times that I sat for 2 hours together and didn't write anything. I couldn't write. Those situations have happened.
I can understand myself. Yes, this happens to me as well. Though I'm not an author like you, but then I have realized it. Yeah. And you also mentioned about going back and forth in the chapters. You felt that you missed something. So that
yes.
Also I've been able to relate very well to that point.
In fact, just to dwell on that point for a moment, even if I have completed now this book between you and me, out of the 3 years that I'm saying, 6 months took me back and forth. I would attribute 6 months of writing to back and forth out of the 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is really, as you rightly mentioned, and Prabha also mentioned that you have given birth to a child, sort of. Yes, truly agreed.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We have one question from Aparna Salvi. Your thoughts on writers writing to promote an enterprise or industry, being from the corporate background?
I didn't quite get the question, if it can be elaborated.
I think she wanted to know what are your thoughts on writers writing to promote a certain enterprise or an industry?
Well, I guess it all depends on the what is the writer's way of writing, what genre he's comfortable with. So as I said, that when I started writing, I would write for anything and for anybody. I used to write speeches. I used to write I have written website content also. So it all depends what you are comfortable with as a writer. So not everybody would be good, and not everyone would be interested in writing everything. So whatever you feel gives you satisfaction, whatever you feel gives you the kick of writing. I think whether it is writing for an organization or writing fiction or writing non-fiction, I think it's all what gives you the joy at the end of the day.
Thank you, Deepak. Anybody has any more questions to ask? Prabha, Natarajan, Sachin, Kishore?
Not really, but then taking forward from what Aparna has asked and then what Deepak has answered, that let's say someone wants to talk about the empire of Reliance. Someone wants to write about, I think we have seen many books would have come up for Tatas and Reliance and Birlas.
Yeah.
So I think these are all very, very inspirational book according to me, which would tell that how from scratch they have developed into an empire. I think this is also very much required, and then I think it's a great thing to do, I would say. Yeah, as you rightly mentioned, it depends on what genre you want to write.
Whatever gives you. So I'll just give you an example that I met someone few years back. I don't want to take names. So this person was the grandson of one of the legendary film producers of the 50s and 60s. Legendary as in actually legendary. So he was the grandson and he wanted to write his biography. So he was not a writer, but he had all the archives, he had all the stuff with him, he had all the material with him. So he approached me and he said that, would you like to write a biography on Mr. So-and-so? I said, why not? For two reasons. One, that yes, he is a perfect person to look up to. And secondly, most of us are interested in cinema. So I said, yes, cinema would be a good area to write up in. So we actually had a couple of sittings, but then something went wrong in their family setup and they had a lot of family heritage disputes which went into litigation. So he couldn't devote time to sit with me and do this. So it went for about 5-6 years. He was in absolute very dense litigation. So that's why I'm not naming who it was. So then by the time things had changed, times had changed, he had other priorities. We never know if it might come up again, but yes, I was keen to do that biography as well.
Great. So I don't think we have any more questions from the audience. And any more questions? Last words, Prabha, Sachin, Kishore?
It was a great session, Deepak. It was nice hearing you. And I guess I think one person I've seen here, like having a different, the Hindi, basically language versatile, and even the write-ups are different, all three kinds of different. So that was really nice hearing you.
Thank you so much, Prabha. And
from my side, I want to say that I would like to read your book and then write a review in our Did You Read Today Facebook group.
Fantastic.
Thanks so much, Deepak. It is very, very insightful for me. Thanks so much. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Sweta.
But from my side, I just want to add that it was a pleasure listening to you because you have a very warm way of putting your thoughts across, and
That's
while
kind of
books
you.
can say a lot of things, but interacting with the author and hearing their point of view also means a lot to us here. And I would say that I'm really glad I joined the session a little late, but I did manage to join. So I'm really happy I was here and got to hear your thoughts about your writing. And also,
So much,
I think another point that I would like to make is there are very few authors who write both in Hindi and English both, and turn out equally readable material from both sides. So I'm really glad to see that as well. So I look forward to reading at least the English books that you have come out with.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deepak, for joining us and being here. And thank you, Diwati, for this opportunity. Vijay, Reggie, Prabha, Essen, Sachin, Renata, Kishore. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good evening and a good day, Shweta.
Yeah, Sweta.
Yeah.